What's up, Dirk? What do you got?
I got my 94 Ironman Autococker.
And what can you tell me about it?
Well, I can tell you that this gun is the one that I shot the most, probably from beginning of 94 up to 97.
And most pictures from that period, you're using it.
Yeah.
And videos.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how many cases you could have shot through it?
Oh my God. No clue. Just tons. I mean, I used a couple custom guns once in a while, but for the most part, this did 80% of the work all those years.
Yeah. And what do you remember about you guys receiving them? Why did you guys get them from Bud?
Because we were a factory team. I think the only actual factory teams from Bud were Navarone, Ironmen. I thought it was only two, but there's a third, the Marine team also. They actually got factory built guns from Bud.
You received this one as a full body.
Yes.
But it is currently cut down?
Yes. Somewhere probably 95. I minied it myself. That's the original Unireg, very first Unireg I got, and I machined that down, and I machined it into a mini, and I also machined turn the outside of the rock regulator. Makes the cover fit better and to lighten it up a little bit. But we were sponsored by J&J at that time, so this is legit. This is exactly the way we shot it.
On this body, did you also do the banjo mod? Enlarge the volume chamber?
Not in its original form. It has a larger one on it now, but in its original form, it didn't have the banjo modification whatsoever.
But when you did cut it down, you did re-drill it to a larger thread size?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was later on. But the thing we found with the banjo mod, it was actually almost too low a pressure. I think just with the turn in the valve was low enough to get it below the 500, the 500 point. So we were running right probably at 350 or 400 psi.
So you were just telling me how you received the first Uniregs from Air America. You guys started off with expansion chambers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, the first expansion chambers I built some and welded them together. I work in a machine shop, done it all my whole life, and the very first ones were kind of a short, fat, welded together assembly. And Dan with Air America wanted us to start using some of his products, and Bob went to him and he built expansion chambers for us, and we ran those first. And then probably for 6-8 months, close to a year, and then we went to the Uniregs.
Yeah, basically, those pictures we were looking at of you at the 92, was it the Masters or Jerry Braun's 92 event, where your tank was frozen?
That was Nashville, and that was end of 92 or early 93, and that was with my first black autococker.
Yeah, and with that you have the tank just screwed directly into the vertical ASA.
Directly here.
So it was some period between then and 94.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you received this Unireg, was it on this gun? Is this the first gun you put it on?
Yes. We ran the expansion chambers first and then ran just prior to it.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you did the hot tank, cold tank test?
Well, the problem was the loss of velocity. So me and Bob talked about it, and we did a lot of testing, but the main thing was finding what range CO2 runs at, frozen or hot, and we determined it was, just pulling the numbers out of my head, it was like 500 psi to 1200 psi on a bottle. So taking that into consideration, we figured if we regged the gun and got the gun to run on a lower pressure than 500 and had the regulator set below that 500, the lowest output of a CO2 bottle, then our velocity would never change.
And you were also using anti-siphons?
Anti-siphons.
Along with that?
Yes. Yeah. The first ones we did, we actually took Automag bottoms, and I made an adapter to screw the Automag bottom right into it, and we tried those for a while, and it worked really well. The guns were probably running on about 350, 400 psi, and then I think Air America came out with this system, and then we went right directly into that.
Yeah. So when you say the Automag bottom half or the back half, you're basically talking about the seal, the pin, the spring pack, and the adjuster.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole back end.
And then I guess also the brass piston or whatever that. What do you call that piece?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is.
Well, it has the relief in it. That's a piece that.
Yeah, it's got a relief overpressure valve inside of the plunger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So you also have your J&J barrel, like you mentioned.
Yep.
And did you guys receive straight rifled or unrifled initially? Do you remember?
They were unrifled originally, and the first ones were brass.
Just plain brass. Yeah, that's
and
right.
then we went into the nickel-plated ones, and they had muzzle brakes in them.
Were they hard chromed or nickel plated?
I think they were hard chromed. I don't think they were ever nickel plated. I think they were hard chromed like this.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And
usually.
then we had a few of us had some of them that had spirals on them.
So you ended up actually machining some autocockers for Joe West at J&J, right?
Yeah, I did a few bodies for him.
Yeah. And how did that come about? Do you remember much about that?
No, I don't remember much about it. I did body mods for a bunch of different guys, and that was just one of them that he wanted. He wanted to have some body, some guns and some custom guns, and he'd send me a few bodies, and I'd machine them and go. You know.
Can you tell me a couple of the other companies that you were machining for?
Kapp. I did the standard classic, I guess they call it.
Which is the vert or right feeds that have the cutout where it's
right feeds. There were some verticals
K.
too. They had 3 little marks here. And a little cut here with a cap on it.
Yeah.
I did those bodies. I did the razors. I did the reflexes.
Yeah.
I did his gas blocks. I did his cocking blocks, several different versions. I did the beaver tails.
Yeah.
I did a few bodies, custom bodies for Bob. Most of his bodies were pretty standard bodies, just his colors were custom.
Yeah.
But I would do, custom would order something special, I'd do it for him. I did mag mods and customizing for Pollock and his custom mags, his signature series,
which were sold through
Predator Paintball.
Yeah,
that's about it. There was a couple other guys, but smaller stores that would call, they wanted some guns done.
What was your company called?
Innovative Manufacturing.
And what other products were you selling through your company? Was there any specific products that were sold?
I didn't sell anything directly through my company. I wanted to be the machine shop, make parts. I didn't really want to have to sell stuff. So it was easier for me just to hook up with guys and they can sell it themselves. Most of the stuff that I machined for paintball was through Kapp.
When you did machine guns that weren't for Kapp, what were some of your signature cuts that you would do on them?
Not for Kapp?
Not for Kapp.
The P blocks.
The P blocks?
Yeah, I did a lot of P blocks. I did a lot of milling slots through the sight rails. Basic stuff. I didn't like cutting up bodies and having holes in bodies and stuff. I wasn't too
open
much
holes.
into that. Other than the razor.
Yeah.
It had some open slots on the top of the sight rail across the top. Yeah. Yeah, this is all.
What would you call that model?
That's a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody take this one.
And
classic.
what period do you think you were machining those? Or do you know you were machining those?
Hold it up so I can see it. Early, probably 96. 95. I've got one in my car that's a right-hand feed. This is a little later one, but the one I have in my car, I think it's a 96, and it's a classic. Yeah, these are done. All these gas blocks. The first gas blocks I was getting War Game product blocks, and we were just cutting down the sides of them, and then I started making them complete. And this is one of the later ones that I made complete. That was done in my shop.
Yeah, that kind of cut in from the side.
This side. All these cuts
but also
here.
Flip it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I normally see that.
Yeah.
I think it usually matches a little bit.
Yeah.
What about the flame autocockers? Did you do those?
I didn't do that.
Those
Somebody
were
else
after?
did those, yeah.
Gotcha. Kapp also sold a lot of these Clippards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they just buy those straight from Clippard, most likely?
I would assume so. Yeah, I had nothing to do with that. I did the these style cocking blocks. There's probably 3 different cocking blocks that I made for them. Like a hexagon looking one too. Kind of ugly. I don't like those.
Yeah. And then what about the ones that would sink in for a 2K? They could take a 2K bolt sunk in, kind of like that. That might actually be one right there.
Yeah, that beaver tail's mine. That was done in my shop.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what about like the 3-way and those twisted LPRs? Was that out of your shop or something?
No. Somebody. That's not me. The other thing I did too was the hinge frames, the first hinge frames.
The reflex frame?
Yeah.
There were 2 generations of reflex frames, right?
2 generations. It was just made by 2 different people, basically. You know what I'm saying?
What was the difference between the 2 generations?
Well, the trigger.
Yeah, the trigger was.
And there might have been a couple of slight changes on the frame, but it was really close to the same on the frame.
So the first generation had the single sweeping trigger, and then the second generation they had like a double cut trigger or one with like a jagged.
Yeah, I didn't make that trigger.
What was the first semi-automatic that you remember seeing? Because you were playing on
First
Predator
semi-automatic
Express.
that I seen.
So not counting the SMG 68s or SMG 60s with semi-automatic triggers. The first direct feed.
Direct feed. It would be Glenn Palmer's Hurricane.
Do you remember when you saw that?
I'd have to say 89-ish.
89-ish.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he made the very first Hurricane, but that feels...
That's when he started actually producing them as
89.
Yeah,
So it's
and then-
probably end of 88, 89.
Probably 89, because the
Yeah.
first tournament that I've been able to find where they actually wrote that the Dogs of War had a semi-automatic was the beginning of 90. I think it was like
90.
January of 90.
Bob Long was shooting one.
Yeah, but
it
he
was a
had
90.
his. He would have
90.
had his after for the second half of 90, because I think they got them after the Bay. I think the Ironmen received them after the Bay City Open, which would be July.
So it was the end of 90,
When-
going into
when
91, and then
Bob
they
would have
started
had
picking
them.
up the. They
Yeah,
started picking up the,
towards the end of 90, I think is when Xander
Autocockers.
received maybe the pump.
Yeah, the pump.
Because his might have been
War
one of
games.
the first ones that he got from Bud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Dirk.